When the tide served, we went aboard again and proceeded our voyage up the river, where we sailed at least 12 leagues without seeing either castle or village, except a few sorry huts like those of the bar. And what made it still more unpleasant, the rains fell. However, we made the best of our way, and by 10 o'clock at night arrived at Bangkok. At Bangkok we saw the new fort, which was raised by the French on the right bank, quite demolished. The banks above Bangkok are pretty well inhabited and stocked with houses and villages. As far as we could yet judge, not having been on shore, we suspected that by far the greater part of the population lived on the water, in floating houses, movable from place to place. The inconveniences of a city built this way must be numerous. Excepting a few comfortable streets within the walls of the city, and a very few outside of them, there is scarcely anything that deserves the name of street. Their paths being raised a little out of the mud by a scanty supply of brick are quite tolerable to themselves with their bare feet and bare legs, while they are scarcely passable to one who wears shoes. At noon all the clamour of the city is suddenly stilled, and perfect silence reigns. Men, women and children are hushed in their afternoon nap. The only sound that breaks the drowsy stillness of the hour is the rippling of the glaring river as it ebbs or flows under the streaming banks. Behind a bend in the mainland, the entire town of Bangkok appeared in sight. I do not believe that there is a sight in the world more magnificent or more striking. This Asiatic Venice displays her wonders over an extent of 60 miles. It seemed as though we had before us a panorama of porcelain cathedrals. Here and there in the distance, above the mob of low brown ridges, towered great piles of masonry, King's Palace, temples gorgeous and dilapidated, crumbling under the vertical sunlight, tremendous, overpowering, almost palpable, which seemed to enter one's breast with the breath of one's nostril and soak into one's limbs through every pore of the skin. 10 years ago, Bangkok was made up of a few mercantile houses in the lower part of the town, the palace and the hotel. What a change has of late come over this scene. One must remain a month in Bangkok and steam up her noble river, the Mae Nam, before being brought to understand what a beautiful and thriving place it is, and how it has earned the title of being the Venice of the East. The river has been the making of Siam. When I first came to Bangkok, the months of March, April and May were usually known as the cholera season. There was no water supply in the town then, and the poorer classes had to drink the water of the Mae Nam River. In Bangkok itself, vultures abound. One sees them from all sides, on rooftops, on trees, around cemeteries, perched atop leftovers of fires. Everywhere there are carrion to detect. The old name given to this town was the Venice of the East, and 50 years ago it was a good description. Since then roads have been made, the canals have been bridged, and electric tramways cross the city in all directions. Now, alas, the picturesque floating houses have nearly all disappeared. The future will see Bangkok as a vast, well-laid-out park-like town, intersected with a network of broad, shady roads running in all directions, and it will then have become, much more even than now, the city of great distances, by which name it is already known.